Welcome to today's deep dive. I want you to just take a second and imagine being dropped right into the middle of a bustling, vibrant city where you do not speak a single word of the local language.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a terrifying thought.
Right. I mean, the sensory input alone is overwhelming. You can't ask for a glass of water. You can't introduce yourself to the person sitting next to you on the bus.
You certainly can't crack a joke to, lighten the mood.
Exactly. For all intents and purposes, your personality, your complex history, your entire identity is just, well, trapped inside your head. You are starting from absolute zero.
Which is such a profound kind of isolation, really. You're a fully formed adult, but your capacity to express yourself is suddenly reduced to that of an infant.
Yeah. And whether you are actually learning a new language or like walking into the office on the first day of a completely new career, or even just trying to wrap your mind around a massive technological shift, that feeling is universal.
Oh, absolutely. It strips away all your usual defenses.
It really does. And today, we're going to look at the exact blueprint for how we overcome it, which brings us to our source material for this deep dive.
Right. The A1 beginner lesson.
Yeah, we are looking at a complete transcript of an A1 beginner-level educational script. It's this short audio lesson, maybe 5 or 6 minutes long, titled English Bridge, Episode 1, Good Morning.
And the premise is incredibly straightforward, isn't it?
Super straightforward. We have two instructors, a guy from New York and a woman from Toronto, and they're welcoming a new student from Spain to her very first English class.
So they basically go over basic greetings, a tiny bit of simple grammar, and some physical gestures.
Exactly. But our mission today is to tear this seemingly basic lesson down to the studs. Because hidden inside this really simple introductory script is a literal masterclass in the architecture of how human beings are taught to communicate.
Yeah, how we build confidence and, forge connections from absolute zero.
Okay, let's unpack this. Segment 1, the architecture of welcome and identity. Before this lesson even attempts a back-and-forth conversation, it focuses on building a foundation.
Right, because looking at the text, the grammatical focus is strictly limited to the simple present tense.
Yeah, we're talking about phrases like, I am, my name is, I come from.
Which is, the absolute bedrock of existence.
My mind immediately went to video games, actually.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, learning a new subject feels like booting up a massive new open-world game. Before your character can run or go on a quest, you have to spend time in the character creator menu.
Oh, right. You have to build the avatar first.
Yes, the simple present tense that I am statement is the foundational code required to even render your avatar in this new environment.
That's a really great analogy, actually.
But looking at the pedagogy here, why start strictly with stating your existence? If I'm stranded in that foreign city, saying I am from New York doesn't get me food or shelter.
That's true. It doesn't solve the immediate problem.
Right. So why not start with action words? Things like I need or I want or just help.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of agency. Think about what happens to your brain when you are in a state of deficit.
Okay.
If the lesson started with I need or I want, it immediately places the learner in a position of dependency. It triggers a subtle stress response.
Oh, because you are forced to acknowledge what you lack right out of the gate.
Exactly. But by starting strictly with declarative statements of identity, like I am, the lesson is actively restoring the learner's psychological autonomy.
It allows you to plant a flag in the ground.
Yeah.
You're telling the environment, I exist here, I have a history, and I have a right to be here.
Right. And the instructors actually model this before asking the student to do it. The guy explicitly states he is from New York, and the woman chimes in that she is from Toronto.
So they aren't just faceless voices delivering a lecture. They are stepping down to the learner's level.
Yes, demonstrating how to build that digital avatar first. It shows that establishing identity isn't just a grammar exercise, it's a mutual exchange of humanity.
You offer a piece of your background, and I offer mine. And to make that exchange even safer, the script utilizes this very strategic role play.
Oh, the character of Maria.
Yeah, one of the instructors actually plays the role of Maria, this new friend from Spain, taking her very first English class. She says, I'm happy, thank you, this is my first class.
Maria is essentially functioning as a crash test dummy for social anxiety.
Yes, that is the perfect way to describe it. The actual listener at home might be feeling incredibly anxious.
Oh, definitely. Their internal monologue is probably entirely focused on their fear of failure.
Right. So by role-playing Maria, the text provides a psychological proxy. Maria absorbs the initial impact of the new environment.
The learner gets to safely observe the physics of the interaction before getting behind the wheel themselves. Maria survives, so the listener's nervous system can downregulate.
I completely buy that psychological agency argument. But if I just walk around a new office, repeatedly stating, I am John, I am from Ohio, I'd sound like a robot.
Well, yeah, you would. Stating your existence is one thing, interacting is another.
So how does the text engineer that very first bridge between two strangers?
It does so through highly targeted, surprisingly profound vocabulary. They function as a set of social keys.
Like the greetings, good morning, afternoon, hello, hi.
Exactly. Once the I am is established, it pivots entirely to inquiries about the other person. How are you? Where are you from?
And they actually take the time to explicitly define the social contract of these phrases. Like, they say, nice to meet you is what we say when we see someone for the first time.
They're laying out the unwritten rules very clearly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Toward the end of the lesson, they do a scripted first day at school practice dialogue.
Oh, right, where they exchange names.
Yeah. And they go from, hello, what is your name?
Yeah.
To confirming they are both new students, and then immediately say, me too, let's be friends.
The pacing accelerates dramatically there.
Wait, 4 lines. They go from, what is your name, to, let's be friends in 4 lines. I have to push back on this.
Okay, let's hear it.
If someone did that to me in real life, in the hallway of a new job, I would run the other way. Isn't this setting the learner up for a completely unrealistic expectation?
It's a fair point. Teaching this fast-track friendship feels like ignoring adult reality.
Yeah, it feels almost childish.
Well, if we were evaluating this as a documentary of real, nuanced human behavior, your skepticism would be entirely justified. It is absurdly fast.
Right.
But we have to look at this through the lens of cognitive load theory. When you are a beginner navigating a new language, your working memory is essentially maxed out.
Because it's doing real-time decryption.
Precisely. You are consciously translating, worrying about mouth movements, and simultaneously scanning the other person's face for social cues.
Just to make sure you haven't offended them.
Exactly. The cognitive load is massive. Your brain literally does not have the computational bandwidth to handle nuance, sarcasm, or a slow burn interaction.
So if the lesson taught a highly realistic, subtle conversation, it would crash the beginner's internal system.
The learner would freeze. So by reducing this to a predictable, hyper-condensed script, it turns a terrifying prospect into a safe, solvable puzzle.
So the let's be friends line isn't meant to be taken literally.
No, it's structural scaffolding. It lowers the stakes, creates a guaranteed win state, so the learner actually has the courage to open their mouth in the first place.
But there's a glaring flaw in just memorizing these safe scripts. If you deliver a perfect good morning with stiff, terrified body language, the interaction falls apart.
Oh, absolutely. The psychological safety net fails completely.
The words alone aren't enough. You have to physically embody them, which is something most textbook learning just ignores.
The physicality of language is often treated as an afterthought, but this script confronts it directly.
It's treated like stage choreography. They explicitly step outside of English to translate greetings. They ask how to say buenos dias and bonjour.
This raises an important question, really. How much of fluency or mastery in any new skill is actually just physical confidence?
Wow, yeah. We usually think of learning as just a mental exercise.
But here, they are explicitly anchoring a foreign concept to a deeply familiar physical anchor.
By bringing up buenos dias, they're saying, you already know the posture, the warmth, the nod of the head that goes with this.
We are just swapping out the audio file.
Swapping out the audio file, that is a brilliant way to look at it. You map new data onto a comfortable physical pathway.
And they take it a step further by giving explicit stage directions. The text says, in English, we shake hands when we meet someone new. It's a friendly action.
Which is such important clarification. Physical proximity varies wildly across cultures.
Very true. You might come from a culture where a bow is the norm.
Or kissing on the cheek. If you try to kiss a new colleague on the cheek in an office in Toronto, you're going to create a very uncomfortable situation.
Regardless of how perfect your grammar is, yeah. So by clearly defining the handshake as a friendly action, they remove a massive layer of ambient anxiety.
They give the exact blocking for the scene. And all this choreography culminates in what I think is the most powerful observation in the text.
The part about smiling.
Yes. The instructor says a smile is the same in every language.
It leverages an incredibly powerful biological tool, neuroception.
Neuroception, what is that exactly?
It's the process by which our nervous system assesses risk and safety in our environment, often entirely beneath our conscious awareness.
Okay.
So when we see a genuine smile, our brains process that facial expression as a safety signal milliseconds before we even decode the spoken words.
So the lesson is teaching you to trigger the other person's biological safety net before you even attempt the grammar.
Yes. Even if you forget the words or your pronunciation is mangled, your physical smile bridges the gap before a single syllable is processed.
It reminds the learner of their inherent capability. The underlying human intent to connect is universally understood.
It is incredibly reassuring.
But, eventually the rehearsal has to end. Knowing the words and gestures is only half the battle. You can practice backstage all day, but you have to walk out into the real world.
And the real world is messy and unpredictable.
Exactly. So how does this script ensure the learner actually takes these tools out there?
It requires an aggressive pedagogical strategy, which we see in the script's relentless positivity.
Relentless almost feels like an understatement. The encouragement is wall to wall. They say, English is fun, amazing job, your English is getting better and better.
They really don't hold back.
So what does this all mean? To a casual observer, that level of praise for just surviving a 5-minute audio clip seems excessive. Why lay it on so thick?
We have to consider the mechanism of the negativity bias, especially in a beginner's mind.
Oh, because your internal monologue is always catastrophizing.
Exactly. Your brain is constantly whispering, you sound foolish, you're making mistakes, everyone is judging you.
That internal critic is deafening when you're new at something.
So the relentless positivity isn't just cheerleading, it's a calculated counterweight. It has to be loud and exaggerated just to bring the learner back to a neutral baseline.
It grounds out their own paralyzing doubt.
Yeah,
And it directly informs the specific practice tip they provide at the end.
the one about practicing in the morning.
Yeah. They say every morning, say good morning to someone in English. It can be family, a friend, or even yourself in the mirror.
Ah, the mirror advice.
Let's talk about that. Because standing in your bathroom, talking to yourself in a foreign language, is the absolute peak of feeling foolish.
It really is. It feels deeply uncomfortable.
But I feel like looking in the mirror and forcing yourself to practice is a foundational technique for overcoming the cringe of being a beginner at absolutely anything.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what the lesson is doing is initiating a habit loop through exposure therapy.
Right, because learning isn't just binging vocabulary once a week.
No, it requires daily, consistent neurological exposure. But the cringe factor is a massive behavioral barrier.
Because forming those new sounds feels fake. It feels like wearing a costume.
That feeling is actually rooted in your brain's auditory feedback loop. Your brain is used to hearing your voice sound a certain way.
So speaking a new language produces sounds it recognizes as incorrect for your identity.
Yes, which triggers cognitive dissonance. By suggesting the mirror, they offer a low-stakes environment to confront that dissonance.
You visually map your own face to these strange sounds.
Exactly. You watch your mouth move, you hear your voice. And over time, this repetitive exposure tricks your brain's neuroplasticity into accepting this new audio profile as part of yourself.
It stops feeling like an imposter's voice. The lesson is really attempting to install a daily habit of bravery.
A daily habit of bravery, yes.
They even end with a call to action. They ask the audience to leave a comment with their favorite phrase. It's a push to move from passive listening into public participation.
They sign off by saying, keep practicing, keep smiling, and keep crossing that bridge.
The bridge isn't just a clever title. It's the actual gap between isolation and human connection. And every time you practice, you lay down another plank.
It perfectly encapsulates the mission. At the core of all learning is the fundamental human need to be seen and validated. The grammar and gestures are just the vehicles to cross that gap.
Which leaves us with a fascinating final thought to mull over. The text reminds us that a smile is the same in every language.
It's a powerful reminder.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, perhaps the ultimate goal of learning a new language or any new method of communication isn't just to learn how to speak differently,
but to realize how much we already understand about each other before we even open our mouths.
Exactly. Something to think about the next time you find yourself starting from zero. Remember, everyone has to build their avatar from scratch. Stay curious, embrace your beginner mindset today, and keep crossing that bridge. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.